Life Gamechangers, and that's what we found ourselves with tonight. Joe Taylor is an absolute game changer in the marketing arena, but specifically for property investors. So in this episode, this week, you're definitely going to want to get your ears on this one, because this is a big one. So let's have a look. Let's get this shared out there in our particular groups that we got going on. So if you're watching this live, by the way, you want to hit hashtag live. Yeah, I want you to type. If you watch it on the replay, put hashtag replay. Now, why do we do that? Because we want to know, for the people who ask questions, we track back and see that they're live, so they would have got answered, why we're here. But if you put a question on what and you've put hashtag replay, we need to either reply to you, give you another video, or whatever. Yeah, so that's what we're going to be doing. And we've got some free goodies to be given away today. So to be in with a chance to win that, hit the share button, let us know you've shared it, and then tag at least 20 people. So for those people who have shared it and tag 20 people, you're going into a prize draw. We'll pick that at the end. So do make sure you're still at the end as well, so we can give that away. We can pick it. So Joe, thanks so much for coming on. I know we've been talking about it on a few different occasions. Why is social media so important? Why is marketing so important in life in general? But specifically, when we talk about taking the average so-called property investor, which, if you ask me, we'll get into this a little bit later, but if you ask me, that's a freaking problem. Too many property investors, one-man bands, solopreneurs, not making any money, or not making any serious money anyway. Yeah, sure. Versus being a real entrepreneur, and that's having marketing. So before we get into that, give us a bit of a highlight reel, Joe, on who is Joe Taylor, what was Joe like growing up, and how did Joe get to doing what he's doing today?
Absolutely. So yeah, my name is Joe. So I'm the owner of eGrowth Media. Started this business about 3 years ago, literally in the first lockdown. So I bought a course on how to run Facebook ads, because I thought Facebook ads is quite a valuable skill, right? So I literally studied the first lockdown, doing the course, got no clients. It took me about 6 months to get my first client. I think he paid me about 300 quid a month. So obviously at that point, it was my first little sale. I was buzzing, right? But I knew it was never going to pay the bills and give me the lifestyle that I wanted. But lo and behold, I got invited onto webinars, did a few kind of online stuff, and it kind of just grew from there. I kind of fell into, let's say, the property niche. But before that, I used to work for a marketing agency down in Birmingham. And I was studying, I was working with them, copywriting and like Instagram growth. So that was kind of my first hint into marketing. My dad always said to me, he said, look, you understand psychology well, you understand how to convince people. Marketing could be a career for you. And I never really thought about it until I thought, actually, if I can make businesses money, suddenly I become very valuable in the marketplace, right? Because if I can make someone money, they're going to pay me good money to make them money. So yeah, that's kind of how it started, really. So yeah, based in Leeds, you can probably tell by my accent, I'm definitely a northern lad, half Ecuadorian as well, so I speak fluent Spanish. I see John Paul Palombo there, my friend. Good to see you, my friend. And yeah, that's pretty much me, really. Love business, love entrepreneurship, and love helping people grow.
Yeah, so why is it that, we'll get into why so many people get it wrong, but why, before we do that, why is it so important that when you're a property investor that you understand marketing?
Because the reason it's so important, right? Because everyone's got a finite number of funds, right? Even if you're a millionaire, you've got £1 million in the bank, eventually that's going to run out. And when you go on these property training courses, they teach you how to deal source, they teach you how to do this, but what they don't really teach you is how to market yourself. And I'm sure you'll agree with me, Matt, that property is a people's business. And I think if you're not taught how to brand yourself, the psychology of marketing, getting an investor on board, you're never going to know what to do, right? So our job now is to fill that gap, is to give our clients the clarity on how to attract opportunities. And that's the difference between people who scale, in my opinion, and people who don't scale.
Yeah, absolutely. And the funniest thing is as well, this is because our brand is real, right? Real life. Yeah. And lately we've been using this term of like, is it real? Are you just seeing the real, REEL? Yeah. Or are you seeing the real, the actual real thing?
Actual real, right? Yeah.
People are giving you the highlight reel. And by the way, even me, I know, like, I only show people online what I want them to see. Gary Vee the same, Grant Cardone the same, anybody's the same. And some people, they don't get it. They're like, oh, but look how this and look how that. That's the highlight reel. when it comes to
Absolutely.
like real cash monies being made in the bank, listen, I'm knee deep into this industry, and there's a difference between people who make money. Like these property investors, they don't make no money. Property entrepreneurs, when you know business, that's the difference. And we're going to get into that. And the last thing I want to say before I ask you is, one thing I realized is most people out there, they did something either in business or in property, and then they wanted to jump into the training industry. For me,
Yeah.
all my success came from training people in my businesses. That's so I'm an actual trainer. I train people who just happens to know business and just so happens to know real estate. So I want to empower people's lives through business and real estate. And
Nice.
marketing is absolutely key.
For
So
sure.
give us the marketing 101, some practical stuff, the real game changing stuff that people could start to look at themselves, what they're doing, and make a difference.
Sure. So the first thing is have the end goal in mind. Think about how much you want to raise. Okay. So if I want to raise 500K, so where's that 500K going to come from? So I did an exercise at my event. It's called the 3M's: market, message, media. And if you don't take people through this process, you're never going to get business. So the first thing is the market. Okay, so who am I trying to attract? Now, it's all good and well saying I want an investor, but an investor is a very broad term. So what I tell people to do is think about who that investor is. So what are their pain points? Where are they from? How much are they earning? Give them a name. You need to really tell a story about who this person is. So if you say, I just want an investor, if you try to appeal to everyone, you actually appeal to no one. So you need to hone in. If you're going to help pilots get into property because you've been in that industry, I've got one client, okay, we call him the property optician. He invests in property, but his main game is to help other opticians and medical professionals get into property. Can you see how we speak in their language? Because we've niched down. That's the first thing, is the market. The second thing is the message, okay? Now, a lot of people talk about themselves, right? We naturally do that. But ultimately, I always say this, people actually don't care about what you do. To an extent, they do, yes. But Mark, what they actually care about is what you can do for them. So yes, the fact that you're a property trainer is obviously good, and but the fact that what you can do, how you're going to change someone's life, how you're going to impact their life, that's actually what they really care about. And that's what we need to get to the bottom of, which I think a lot of people miss, is this is what I do, this is how good I am, this is my highlight reel, as you say. But actually, it's how can I come from a position of service and give this person as much value as possible, and then the money is made.
And by the way, there's too much pressure in that game. Like when you make it all about yourself and hey, look at me and hey, look what I've done. There's too much pressure. Like you say, nobody, like you were quite polite there. My opinion is no one actually cares at all. I
thought I'd keep it PG, but but yeah, it's true. People actually don't give a shit about what you do. They care about what you can do for them.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing a lot of people make. And then the third M is the media. So it's where you're going to find these people. Is it going to be on LinkedIn? Is it going to be at networking events? Is it going to be on Facebook? Okay, so really think about, where are these people hanging out? Is it going to be Facebook groups, for example, which is, again, a very good strategy to use. So unless you have them 3Ms in place, in my opinion, you're pissing in the wind.
Yeah. And here's another thing that people miss out on, because there is a bunch of investors that they ain't in any of those places that you just mentioned. And they're the ones with the real money. So some people, they don't take care of their brand, their personal brand, or their social media. Sure. But at the end of the day, once you do meet these people, if you're fortunate enough to get in those circles, then where's the first place to go to look to check you out, to see who you are and what you're about? They're gonna if it ain't them, it's their assistant. And trust me, I know. They're like, I'm trying to punch above my weight at the minute. I'm reaching up. I need to raise hundreds of millions. So I'm reaching up, and they check you out. Oh, yes, they do. They know stuff. They start asking questions. I'm like, there's only one way you know that. There's only one way you know that about me. That's because you've seen it online. So what's some advice that people talk about? Let's talk about personal brand, and what are some things people can do to enhance that?
Sure. So I'll give you Josh Chambers again for an example. He was one that had a similar situation, which I'm sure he won't mind me telling. He had two investors, right? One was very keen to invest with him. The other one wasn't quite so keen. So what the other one did was he looked at Josh's social media, and then he was bought in. Now, in terms of the content strategy that we followed, now at eGrowth Media, any social media market might tell you different, but this is the principle that we follow. So 70% of our content is just documenting what we're doing. Okay, it's the fact I'm getting property training. It's the people I'm with. It's the meetings I'm at. It's the properties I'm viewing, because that is social proof, right? The key thing is the social proof. We need to build that you're actually doing what you say you're doing. Second thing is consistency. Now, I've seen so many, you've probably seen this as well, Matt. I've seen so many investors, they make all this noise for a month. They're here, there, at every event, and then suddenly they just disappear.
Yeah.
You never hear from them again.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you'd agree with me. If I'm a potential investor and I look at your social media, you've been doing this, you've been doing that, and suddenly I see no post for a year and a half or 2 years, I'm instantly thinking, is this person even still in business? I don't know about you, but it gives me a red flag. Gives me a red flag.
Yeah, but the other thing is as well, like, you know, because it's attention, right? And if you're not putting stuff out there to get attention, then somebody else is. Even, you know, even if it's nothing to do with investing or property, it might be some, you know, garbage in the news or whatever. You know, but something's grabbing their attention.
Of course it is.
You know what you say about this consistency, because, you know, I relate this to my journey. Yeah. You know, I wasn't consistent in the beginning. I was talking about 2016, wanted to start getting myself out there on social media.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember I had this shirt on, put this tie on. I'd wedge my phone up in a nice area, you know, looking in my conservatory, and I was getting ready to give some real value about setting goals and all this stuff. And I remember someone commented on it. They just said, "What is this shit?" Yeah.
Oh, and someone put that on your post.
Yeah, and I just remember thinking, you know what, like this. I've got to get, like, I could easily delete the message, right? But I thought, you know what, I want to leave it there. You know, I've got to get over this. And shortly after, with a bit of inconsistency, I actually said to myself, I want to do a Facebook Live. This was when Facebook Live was kind of new. Yeah. Sure. And I said, like, Facebook Live every day for 100 days. And I numbered them. And if you look back at 2016, 17, you'll see that some of mine are done at like 11:55 at night, because I just
squeezed it in there. Yeah.
Just procrastinated. But I tell you what, that broke some barriers, you know, because then after that, I realized nobody gives a crap anyway. You know what I'm saying? And I was so worried about, oh, what if I say this? What if I say that? And I realized that people are not. So the biggest thing I see, Joe, and I want your viewpoint on this. Yeah. You know, if you do a post, yeah, and everyone, like, engagement post, birthday post, even like somebody died post, you know, somebody got a post, like all of these posts, everyone loves it because it's like, it gets likes, it gets
relatable, right?
It gets comments. Yeah. But it's easy to post when that's happening. But what about when people are not commenting, people are not liking it, but they're still watching? There is a thing that people don't understand. They're still watching. Yeah. Yeah. They're still watching. And in fact, the people that you want, they never comment. Yeah, and they never like. So, like, what tips have you got? What's your viewpoint on that?
My view on it, right? Okay, so you need to take, right, engagement with a pinch of salt, because some of my least, let's say, best performing posts have actually brought me the most money. And any client I speak to that's raised money for us have always said that the investor has never actually engaged. So just because you're getting 10 likes and someone else gets 30 likes or 50 likes, don't be disengaged. Like, don't let that get to you too much. Now, obviously, if you're just starting out posting, you're going to have a smaller audience. And, you know, if you look back at my post when I started about 3 years ago, I was getting, you know, 5, 10, 15 likes, which I could have thought, oh, shit, no one actually cares about what I'm posting. But I stayed consistent, and now it's obviously paying dividends, right? So what I would say to you is, if absolutely nobody's engaging for, let's say, a year, then the content is probably not right, okay? Or 6 months. But just because some posts do better, some don't get disheartened by that, because I completely agree, and I've seen it time and time again. It's that the investors are never actually engaging; they're watching. Absolutely.
Yeah. Because, you know, I put stuff out there. You know, obviously we want to raise money. You know, I want to inspire people. I want to recruit people. Oh dear, I want to recruit people for my community. You know, like. And like every time that little voice says, kind of, you know, is it worth it? You know, don't worry, you don't need to do it. Someone just pops a message. I needed to hear that today. I needed to see that today. Oh, by the way, I'm interested in this. By the way, I like this. And it's like, you see, when people send them messages, anybody can keep going. Surge of energy. It's like you see the finish line in a marathon, right? All of a sudden you got all the energy in the world, even though you thought you were dying, you know, 2 yards back.
Yeah, no, it's true. Very true.
Yeah, so anybody can do that. The question is, and I want to ask you, like, how do people keep going, or what can people do to keep going when, like you say, it's not coming thick and fast, and it's not,
Yeah.
you know.
All I'd say is, again, if you're doing the right actions, so if you follow the market message media, if you follow, understanding the pain points of your customers, if you're actively out there in the real world, meeting potential people, and then adding them onto your social media, then you're doing the right things. The results will come, I promise you. Now, we've had a client today who's literally messaged us about 2 hours ago saying he's about to secure 100K through someone he's not met, who's seen him on Facebook, and he's been waiting for that for 7 months. But imagine what he's going to do with that 100K, right?
Yeah, and that's the point. And we've done this before. We like I was telling you at the beginning, we're very different to everyone else. Everyone training everyone to be property investors. We're talking about real business entrepreneur people. JP will know himself. I know you know JP. We actually on one of our sessions, we worked out, like, okay, so if we raise this money, how many posts would it take? Yeah. And then what we did was, okay, so now you got this money, how much money will you be able to make? Because obviously you don't make 100 grand because someone invested. You're going to take the 100 grand, be able to invest in a deal, and it makes X amount of money.
Yes.
So then what we did was, based on the money that we make, and then we divided it by the amount of posts to work out how much do I get paid, from posting one time.
I like that.
And it varies. Yeah, you might want to use this as a good business model.
I like that. It's a very good idea.
We worked it out. One guy was £2,500 a post. Now, obviously, you don't get this money straight away, but it's like one of my mentors. He sold his business for 100 mil. Yeah. And he was telling me it took him 35 years to do it. He was like, yeah, but in my first year, how much money did I make? Yeah, exactly. I make this much money. I think it's the last time he saw it was 70 million. So he's like, yeah, 35 years. So he said, yeah, I made 2 million. Second year, I made another 2 million. Third year, I made another 2 million. He didn't have it in his hand. He didn't have it in his bank, but that's how it works. Yeah. So like,
I love
people got to realize you got to post. I've worked this out many times. Some people are £1,200, £2,500, £800. And I ask them, I say, hey, listen, if I was to pay you 800 quid every time you post, would you post every day? Because I post 5 times a day. I'm like, well, so why are you not posting?
I'll tell you what, Mark, you've just given me my new spiel for my sales pitch. That's amazing. I love that.
and you can work it out live every time because everyone's different. It's just like, well, tell me how much you need. Okay, you need 100. Okay, so what deal is that going to go into? How much money is that deal going to make you? And then you just work backwards. And it's
absolutely. That's brilliant.
Yeah, you've got to do that. So give us some of the not to do's then, Joe. Like, what are some of the things people should not be doing?
Okay. Always asking for money. There's those 2 things. Okay, so always asking for money. You see them people that they built no credibility, built no like and trust. They've got a new deal popping up every now and then. Is it an actual deal? We don't know. And they're spamming these groups. You're smiling. I'm sure you've seen that, right? So that is what not to do, because you've not built that authority to say, like, look at me, this is what I'm doing, come invest in my deal. You've built no credibility, no social proofing, like in the kindest way possible. Like, who are you? Okay, why should I give you 100K? Why should I buy that deal, and pay your sourcing fee of 5K? Because you've not shown me that your abilities, right? That's the first thing. Second thing is, I call it social selling. So on social media, we're selling without selling, okay? So if you saw every single post with me, if I'm saying, okay, this is my offer, come buy it today, you're going to get bored of me, right? Now, if you look at my social media, I, again, follow the same principles. I document what I'm doing. I document who I'm with. I tell people what events I'm speaking at. And by doing that, I'm building my credibility. But I'm not saying, come buy my 599 course. Like, that's not what I'm doing, okay? So I call it social selling without selling, because that's the place that social media, in my opinion, is for, okay? I've seen it time and time again, people that tried to make an offer on every single post. And I looked at their engagement and it just went south, as you can imagine, okay? So that's the second thing. And the third thing is, just don't spam groups. Like, I've seen it before, literally copied and pasted into 5 groups within 5 minutes of each other. And I'm going down my newsfeed and I'm thinking, so I've just seen this post.
That's how it shows up for, like, someone, like, if you're kind of connected to them in some way, that's how it shows up for you. It just shows up one after the other.
Exactly. So I would definitely avoid them 3 things in my opinion. And a final thing, actually. So re-optimizing your profile. As we say, if you meet someone in person, You only get one opportunity to make a first impression. Now, when someone lands onto your profile, they need to have the clarity that they know what you do and what you offer. Okay. Again, another saying, but it's so true. A confused mind doesn't buy. So if I'm landing onto your social media accounts, there's photos of you getting drunk on a weekend. How am I going to invest 100K in you? How's an investor going to invest 100K in you? You know, if you're doing this, you're doing that. Like, you need to start using, if you're serious about becoming a property entrepreneur, you need to start using your social media channels as your online business card. That's what I said to clients. And it's just so true. It's just so true. So yeah, get rid of them Ibiza photos from 2019.
Yeah, and here's another thing as well. It's like, we were doing a session and we were talking about raising investment and the power of social media and stuff. And literally, I just pulled out my phone and I just started looking at this person's profile, and I'm like, I can't even see it. Like, it's private. It's private.
Yeah.
It's private. So unless you want to raise money from just the people who are already connected to you, forget, okay, if you want to do that, fine. But if you want to, but there's this whole thing about, and listen, I grew up on a council estate, so I'm as skeptical as they come. Like everyone's going to everyone's going to steal from me. Everyone's going to beat me up. Everyone's
a scammer.
Yeah. So like so when Facebook first come out, I'm like, I ain't posting on Facebook. Like, they'll know I'm on holiday and they'll come and burgle my house, and like started freaking out like this. But then I came to realize, like, this, because you talk to a guy who used to have to walk the streets and knock on doors.
Yeah.
So then when I got my first job, in like a sales job on the phone, everyone's complaining about being on the phone, and in my head, I'm like, you guys, do you have any idea how many streets, how many doors, the cold weather, doors slam, people come to the curtain, they look at me and then just close the curtain again. Like, being on the phone, being on the phone for me was like a dream.
Yeah, like a luxury, right?
but then when social media came out, and I'm like, whoa, like, some people are like, I don't know if I had to use it. Oh, I don't know. All of this stuff. I'm like, do you know how many calls I had to make just to even like speak to some people to like let them be aware of who I am? This stuff's a joke. Like if you ain't, I remember like 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago, I heard Gary V on a thing, and someone said, "What's the ROI of social media, Gary?" And he was like, "What's the ROI of your mum?" He just said, like, how do you quantify the ROI of social media? And then he was like, I'll tell you how to do it. If you do social media, you'll still be in business in 5 years' time. I remember he said that. That's how serious he was about it, like 5 years ago.
That's true. That's so true.
So if anyone's got any questions, by the way, about the current situation, like, this is a time for Joe to answer it right here live. I know the real life tribe members, who you're going to have a luxury, you're going to have him up close and personal, be able to tell you anything. Anything. That's where you can say anything, do anything. Oh, and he's got an awesome presentation he's going to be showing you guys, inside of that mastermind that's happening at 8. But anyone here right now who's got any questions, now's your time to ask your questions. So get it in the comments. Yeah. So one of the biggest things, Joe, is people are always struggling for content. What are some tips you can give them for, like, just coming up with a system or some pointers are how they can build a bit of consistency and stop getting, like, what do you call, writer's block, content block?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I do is, first of all, I look at your diary. Okay, so if you're busy in property, you're doing bits, you're naturally going to have a busy diary, right? So I will look at, okay, what am I doing this week? So Monday, I might be at a networking event. Okay, so I know what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a quick live at me at this networking event. Okay, why? Because that shows you're out there in the field. That's social proof. Then I will look at what viewings are you doing. Okay, now if you're a busy property investor and you're looking to scale, chances are you're going to be doing viewings every single week. Now, what I would do is, even if you don't acquire the property, talk about the viewing, talk about why you went to go see it, if you secured it off market, what your plans with the property to be. Would it be a conversion from a buy-to-let to a HMO? Give the details, okay? Because again, that's just showing you out there in the field. And then maybe, let's say on a Friday, talk about the week, talk about the ups, talk about the downs. As we said before, we like to show the best parts of our lives. But you know what people really love? Real and raw. So talk about the shit that went wrong. Talk about how you got gazumped. Or talk about, your builder let you down. We had a client and he did a post where the roof came down. Like, the ceiling came down within the property, and we spoke about that because again, that's relatable. Property investors feel that you're out there, you're real. It's not just look at me at my Lamborghini, like that stuff doesn't work, right? So that's what I would say to you. Okay, is definitely do that. Now, in regards to content ideas, so I'm going to give you a little secret. So we use there's a tool which I talk about in my talks. Oh yeah, John Paul fucked up Fridays. Yeah, absolutely. So talk about what went wrong. Now we use a tool. It's called Answer the Public. Now, basically, what you can do is you can search a topic, or let's say property investing, and it'll bring you a circle of all the things people are searching for right now. So, for example, it could be how to invest in property. What is the best property strategy for 2023? Use them title ideas as the titles of your videos. Okay, because that's what people are actually looking for right now. So, it uses Google Trends and it uses all the data from Google.
What's that thing?
It's called Answer the Public.
Answer the Public.
Yeah, Answer the Public.
Nice. Answer the Public. Yeah, cool. We've got a question coming in here. Dom's asking, how detailed does your marketing strategy get?
Sure. So absolutely. So when we create a content strategy, we go as deep as finding out what times to post. Okay. So what times, for example, if it's going to be the morning, what we'll do is we'll do a study. So we might do 4 weeks of posting at 6 a.m. Then we'll do 4 weeks of posting at 7 p.m. And then we look at the numbers and see if there's a correlation. So that's how in depth we go. We talk about the platform, the content type, the topic, the hook, and then obviously the times as well. So that we do go pretty in depth because obviously as an agency, it's our job to make sure that we're exposing you guys as much as possible to the right audience at the right time. You might think 5 a.m. is the best time, but if your audience is asleep, then you might create the best content in the world, but no one's going to see it. So you need to get my point.
So do you always have this data? Do you already have this data, and do you see trends in general in terms of timings, or
now if I told you I'd have to kill you, so I can't say that.
No, I'm wondering, like, do you test it per person? You see differences, or is it generally?
Okay, so in regards to property, we've got 2 times that we post. Like we've got 2 windows, and we've seen that pretty much with every client that we've got, most of their audience is online at both these 2 times. Yeah. So again, that's been 3 years of studying and looking and testing. That we know these times are pretty much optimal for most people.
Nice. Okay, cool. We've got another question here.
Yeah.
I like this one. I'm asking for a friend. My friend is asking, should we be trying to post on all channels every day or focus on one and hammer it?
That's a very good question. I think I said this on the event that we did. Okay. So for me, again, some people might disagree. I would say focus on 1 or 2, get good at them. Now, if you've got a full social media team behind you, okay, then you can leverage out. But if you're just starting by yourself, I wouldn't try to do TikTok. I wouldn't try to do YouTube. I wouldn't try to do Instagram. I wouldn't try to do LinkedIn because there's so many platforms all at once. And what's going to happen is if you are just a one-man band initially, you're going to do every platform mediocre, but there's different topics, there's different trends you need to look at on each platform. For example, the content you post on TikTok is not necessarily the ones you post on Facebook because it's a slightly older audience. Okay, so if you just do everything mediocre, you're going to get mediocre results. If I were you, I would focus on 2 platforms, get very good at them, build up your audience, and then expand. So I'm literally an example of that. The 2 platforms I use for business are Facebook and LinkedIn. Now I'm starting to use TikTok. So I'm bringing in a TikTok social media manager, and they're going to grow my personal brand for me on TikTok. It's not a platform that I've actively used to get business, but I see opportunity there. Okay, but that's after 3 years of just hammering 2 platforms. So for me, 1 or 2 platforms, get good at them, build an audience, build a loyal audience, and then expand out. I just wouldn't try to tackle everything at once because you're going to get overwhelmed and you're going to be disappointed by your results.
So here's we measure success in
what for the property investor?
Yeah, like we're looking at marketing, right? The reason I ask this question is because some people are like, "Oh, look how many views this guy got," or "Look how many this."
Yeah.
There's a whole thing behind, because we do marketing elsewhere as well, and it's like, whoa, yeah, cost per lead is really this, and people are getting all excited about it. But it's like, yeah, but if these leads are full of crap, like, how do you measure success, or how are you measuring success with your clients?
Absolutely. So it depends what service you're doing. So if you're doing paid advertising, it's very much black and white, as you mentioned before. Key metrics you look at are your cost per lead, your click-through rate, your conversion rate, your cost per click. Like, it's much more quantifiable. if you're running a paid ad campaign. But in this instance, we're talking mainly about personal brand building and organic content. Now, I always say this, content is a very indirect ROI. Like the way we did it for one of our clients, she raised just under 3 million, was we literally looked at every lead in her inbox and she just said to me, okay, this client closed at this amount. And that's how we came up with the total. Now, as you said before, kind of how you work out cost per post, that's probably the best way to do it, because with content, there is actual no direct ROI. As you say, they raise 100K, they might have seen you at a networking event and then added you on social media, or they might have known you years ago, and then because you've started posting, they've invested 100K, and then you got to work out what you can do with that 100K, how much profit is that going to make you for life. So it's quite grey, but the way we do it is most of our clients, they want to raise investor finance because they want to buy more deals so they can live the life that they want. So for us, that's how we measure it. Okay, we raise this person this amount that allow them to buy this and this. So personally, yes, it'd be good to get 10,000 views every video, but if there are 10,000 people that are never going to buy from you, that's just a vanity metric, right? So that's my answer to that.
So like if it's indirect ROI, meaning the return on the money spent, right? Money invested, then how do you make, like, is there a way to measure success?
So again, it'd probably just be going through your inboxes. Like if you're doing, again, the organic approach where you're sending traffic, you're building your personal brand off your personal profile, then I will look at the leads that have come through a result of your post and then just work out how much they paid you or how much they invested in you. That's the best way to do it from an organic perspective. Again, if you're doing it from a paid advertising perspective, you've got much more clear metrics. Okay, I've spent £10 a day on Facebook ads. My cost per lead was £7. Out of them leads that we got, 2 converted at a value of 10 grand. Okay, let's say for a training company example, it's much more quantifiable. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but
yeah. I just want to ask some questions that I know people maybe they don't know to ask these questions yet, because I've like, what is it that, is it something people should be paying attention to? Likes, comments, if they've got pages, they should have insights to impressions or reach, views, like, or is that like a distraction and people get sucked, like you're saying, to the vanity?
It's a very good question. It's a very good question. You need to look at your metrics. Absolutely. Would I get hung up on your metrics? No, because as I mentioned before, the client that's just about to raise this money that we mentioned before, his engagement isn't actually the biggest out of other clients that we've got, but he's about to raise that money. So who would you say is winning? The someone that's got 10,000 views or the person that's about to raise, a 6-figure sum? So definitely be mindful of it. Definitely be conscious of it. But I wouldn't say that's the be all and end all, if I'm honest. For example, so if you look at my social media, I can put the same post out on Facebook and Facebook and LinkedIn, and my Facebook will always perform better. Why? Because I've put more effort into nurturing that, because that's what's brought me the biggest ROI. So it wasn't one specific post that made me, that brought me that client, for example. It was accumulation of posts for a long period of time that built up that know, like, and trust, where people come to it and they think of property marketing, they think of us. So again, just don't get hung up on it, is my honest opinion.
We've got so many good questions. These ones are written down, so I want to ask this one before I forget. Yeah. What about like the trollers, the haters, the full of shit people? Do you have any advice what to do?
Sure. But look, we live in the real world, right? We don't live in an ideal world. You're not going to resonate with everyone. I'm sure there's people that hate me and hate my content. I'm sure there is. Okay. But if I thought about that and that stopped me, then I wouldn't grow my business. Okay. You always got to think, is this person, you probably heard this before, is this person going to pay my bills? If they're not, see you later. Like, don't worry about it. It's just noise. It's just cut it out. I get it's not easy. And, some people are not as confident putting themselves out there, but you always got to think, like, most people, if people are doing better than you, chances are they want to pull you up. It's generally the people that are not doing as well as you. They're triggered by what you're doing and what you're posting. And then that's when they start to leave negative comments, because they're just not happy in themselves. And the fact that you're making moves, that triggers them, I think. So that's my opinion on that. I see you smiling there.
So yeah, I use one of my friend's tricks. Yeah. So like my friend, he sometimes gets loads of comments like, "Hey mate, get your freaking hair cut," and all of this shit. Like, what should he do?
Yeah. What should he do? He should address that. You know what you should do? You should screenshot the comments and then address it on a video and say, "This is why I'm not going to cut my hair," and then just kill them with kindness is what I like to say. I feel like if you react in a better way, it just adds fuel to the fire. Just kill them with your kindness and kill them with your honesty. And I definitely don't trim your hair because you're letting them win.
Yeah, you know, one thing that was quite cool, you know, in my experience is I used to always reply with like comments, you know, to like they would comment, I would comment. Sometimes then it spirals and it's like, man, I don't know what I'm going to say. You know, one thing that started to, you know, was quite entertaining for me was the comment. You know, you can only do this on Facebook. I wish you could do it on Instagram as well. You know, because I get some funny comments on Instagram, but like, so I just started replying with videos, and 90% of the time they just don't reply after that. But some people
what can they say? What can they say to you?
Yeah, because and I think it's because of that keyboard warrior attitude. As soon as they see, okay, so they see in the video to begin with, or they see in a post, but then they see a real person replying. So then all of a sudden it's like, oh wow, they're a real person. Because at the end of the day, you know, like even these people, and I took this from Tony Robbins, yeah. You know, Tony Robbins, I remember him saying, people only communicate in two ways. Either one, they're communicating from a place of love, yeah, or number two, they're communicating through a cry for help.
That's so true.
And I remember that. So every time I didn't see love, I thought, wow, you know, this person's hurting. Like you say, they're triggered, they're hurting, something's not good, something's not right, there's skepticism. I mean, when I first seen, this is ironic, right? When I first seen build a property portfolio with a Robbie Fowler, I'm a Liverpool fan, Robbie Fowler, build your property portfolio with no money. I was like, I'm going to the training just to prove to myself it ain't true. that was my mentality. Now, boom, you know, we're doing it, and we've helped many people do the same thing. So let's get these questions. Yeah, we got Amajit here. Yeah, I don't even know if this is going to fit on. It's too big. So let me read it out to you. Yeah, he's saying he's a music artist. This is a great question, great subject, by the way, because people are always saying they've got different things going on their page. So this guy's, you know, got his music going on his Facebook and his Instagram, but he's also doing property. So what would be the best way for him to do it? You know, like if he's got music, but he also wants to advertise himself as a property investor.
Okay, so I would do, because it's quite different subjects. So for example, if you were doing staging and then you do an essay, they're kind of both intertwined, right? But you're going to have two very different audiences. So an investor is actually going to invest in you because they're interested in property versus someone who's going to buy your music or listen to music. So what I would say is have separate social media accounts. Now, I never really advise this, but I think because your audiences are going to be two very different, you want to confuse them. Now, if you are targeting property investors, for example, on Facebook, definitely still mention the fact that you do music, because that's ultimately you, and that's people are buying into you as a person. So don't be afraid to show some of your work, but just obviously don't center your content strategy around music if you're building an audience on Facebook full of investors. So I don't like to usually advise that, but if it's two very separate things, then either look at the platforms or then look at creating different social media accounts. So for example, if you know you're going to target, I don't know, corporate managers on LinkedIn, okay, you're obviously not going to post about music, but let's say you want to build, a following for your music, then maybe look at a platform like TikTok. So yeah, I'd say it's very much platform and topic dependent.
Nice. Okay, good.
Hope that helps.
Here's another one. You mentioned 70% posting should be social proof. What's the other 30% broken?
Yes. Okay, so 70% is just documented social proof. 20% we tend to do educational style / personal posts. So talk about the holidays you've been on. Like again, Mark, I saw some of your posts about Egypt. Now, is Mark selling his property, training to me through him going to Egypt? No. But is it building that familiarity with Mark? Absolutely. Does it make me trust Mark more? Oh yeah, how was, before we jumped to this podcast, I asked you about your holiday. Okay, that makes me feel like I know him because I'm seeing he's a real human. Okay, so 20% of your content should definitely be personal, educational. And then what we do is we do 10% of our content is actually salesy based. So let's say, I'll give you an example. So I had one client, we'd been building him a personal brand for about 6 months, and he needed some cash fast. So what we did was we did one video and we just blasted it into a few groups. And he's actually, the title of our events is how to raise 190K in 14 days, because that's what we did for him just through one video. But if we'd been doing that, asking for money and not built that personal brand before, then it would not have had them results. So 70% documenting, social proofing, 20% educational and personal, 10% actually, okay, this is a project I'm working on. I'm looking for opportunities. Let's get in touch to find out more. That's how I would break it down.
Yeah. Good. Nice one. Here's another question. This is always interesting. How much person is too much?
It's a good question.
I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, so it depends. Like, again, every market will tell you different. Like, for example, on TikTok's definitely a volume game. Now for me on Facebook, I used to do, when I wasn't that busy, I used to do 3 posts a week. Now, because we're busy and we're always doing things, I'm posting like twice a day now. But if you've come from a place where you're not posting at all, and then suddenly you go, boom, this is me, you're posting twice a day, that's going to be too much. You need to do it, in my opinion, incrementally. So, for example, maybe start on 2 posts a week. Because if you suddenly do 6 posts a week and then suddenly you do 0 for a week because you're overwhelmed, that looks worse than you doing 2 posts a week for 2 weeks. So I'd rather you post less but be consistent than go all guns blazing on last 2 weeks and then we never hear from you again.
Yeah, they never hear from you again syndrome. Yeah. Here's another question that's written down, so I'll ask this before I forget, which is, and I'm interested, have you had to ever deal with a client, or have you ever got to that stage where, this, personal things can happen, they're having a hard time, things start going wrong.
Yeah.
The general trend is that's when they disappear. Our philosophy in our community is that's where you need to reach out the most.
Yeah, that's true.
So what's your view on the whole kind of...
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think, again, marketing is one of the things, let's say it's the easiest thing to pull, right? So I feel like, in times of economic crises, that's when you should be marketing the most. That's when you should be taking advantage. But yeah, I've had it before where, clients, rather spend money on more property training, which again, property training is fantastic and it's needed. But ultimately, you could do all the training in the world, but if no one knows what you do, you have no visibility, you're not going to sell deals. You're not going to acquire more deals. You're just going to keep spending your money on learning how to do things without doing the actual doing. So I think it's a bit of a, let's say, backwards mentality, in the sense that when you need it the most is when you should be doing it the most, not the other way around. Okay. I just think marketing is one of them things. It's quite easy to pull, especially if you're paying, for example, an agency. But that's, as you say, if you're not making enough money off things are tight, you should actually be trying to acquire more deals, which will pay for your lifestyle.
Yeah, and here's the thing, and obviously this is your business, right?
Absolutely.
But like, I've been fortunate enough to come through, tough times, and especially after 2008, and the market, and I tell you why, it's because we put all our efforts into sales and marketing. Yeah, sales and marketing was the last thing. If we were ever going to cut anything, when times get tough, if we were ever going to cut anything, they were the last 2 things. Yeah.
That's why you've grown.
Now, after this, I added another 3rd thing. Yeah. These are the last 3 things I would ever cut: sales, marketing, coaching. Those 3 things are the last 3 things that we've cut. Everything else is going before then, even the building.
Yeah.
We'll just work from, wherever. Like, if we have to, like,
yeah, absolutely.
Things are going. Yeah, is that.
No, I couldn't agree more.
Here's a good question. And I just want to add something to this. Not only just business page, because some people might say, "Oh, this is my one of my companies is Harvey Property Solutions Group." That would be a business page. But then you've also got a personal page, meaning like profile.
Yes.
But then you've also got page. So let me add a 3rd one in the mix. What's the best to do?
Very, very good question. Okay, so again, when we've asked clients, how did you raise the money? Now, what we said was, investors will check you out. Okay, so as part of their due diligence process, they'll probably check out your website. They'll probably check company's house. They'll probably check your social medias. But what we found was they'd always check, let's say, your business page, but never get in touch through the business page. So they'll always get in touch via your personal profile. Okay, personal profile or personal page. Now, in terms of it was for me nowadays, I would say focus on having a personal profile if you're looking to raise investor finance, organically is the low-hanging fruit, in my opinion. Again, Josh is a testament to this. He was running paid ads to find investors. The quality wasn't that good. So I said to him, I said, look, let's do the organic approach. Let's do this, let's do that. And obviously it worked. Okay, so it takes longer. The volume of leads is going to be less, but the quality tends to be higher, okay, because you're building an actual brand as opposed to here's an ad on the newsfeed. Now, that being said, if you are looking, for example, in my business, when we want to top up our ticket sales, we run paid ads. So we do targeted campaigns 6 weeks before events because that can reach 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people a day. Okay. If I've got a specific campaign I need to push. So my advice to you, if you are just getting started, I wouldn't worry about paid ads. Because number one, you're going to have to pay an agency to run your paid ads properly. Or number two, you're going to have to spend, like I did, lockdown, learning how to do it. I spent 6 months learning it. It's not easy to
yeah,
run.
But let's take paid ads out of the equation, because I think you're dead right on there in terms of building credibility and all the rest of it. It takes a long time, a lot of money.
Absolutely.
And you haven't really got any kind of sale that's being made that offsets that investment. So it's like, that would be crazily, out the water. You need a lot of money. You might as well just use that money for your projects if you got that much.
Yeah.
So what about the organic approach? Should I be doing it on like a business page like that, like the property company's brand, or should it be the personal brand? Should it be both? Like
Okay. So the main focus has to be your personal profile. So 100%. Now, it doesn't harm having a business account as well. Like, we still run business accounts for clients, but we always look at the engagement, always look at the results. The personal profile is the lowest hanging fruit. So if you don't have time to be creating 6 posts a week, 110%, I would do it on my personal profile. I've got a business personal page. I've got my own personal profile, and my engagement on my personal profile wins every single time. Every single time. And also I can post into groups off a personal profile. Now, for someone that's looking to build up, let's say, a different kind of business, like a coaching business, personal business pages, 100%, 110%.
And here's the last one before we start wrapping it up, is if you have a business partner, would it be ideal to have a Facebook business account?
So yeah, what you can do is you'll have your own personal profile, but then you can both be admins of a business page. Have full admin access each. So then you both, let's say, as powerful as each other.
I think what I would say on that one as well, though, Joe, as well, I don't know what your view on this is like, because when we're helping people get these exposures and all the rest of it, if you're in a partnership, that's gold. Because let's just say if it's me or you by ourselves, we got one dynamic. But if you're in a partnership, and now, like, let's say you're because I know some people, like, they're couples and they partnership with another couple. Now you got, like, let's just say you're husband and wife. Now you got 3 dynamics. You got the guy by himself, the woman by themselves, and then the couple. So again, like you saying, it's like, what was that thing you said about liking?
No like and trust.
No like and trust. Now you got 3 kind of characters, so to say. You got the couple, you got the individuals, by themselves. Absolutely. And that's why I always say, look, like, don't just do it together because it's easy to be, seen together. Like, use the feminine, use the masculine, because you just never know who's going to relate to who.
Exactly. And then you've got 2 opportunities. You've got one individual as an opportunity, and the other individual as an opportunity to resonate with the audience.
Yeah, very good. Nice one. Okay, so we've got to wrap this up. So we've got at least a bit of space between this and the mastermind. So thank you so much for Joe. I've got a couple more questions for you, but thank you everyone for watching. Make sure you share this post, tag some people who need to raise some investment. And we're going to be going inside the mastermind in our private community in a moment. But Joe, just very quickly, let's say you got a message. It's a microphone that translates into every language. Across the world. What would your 30-second message be to the people?
So mine's a lot shorter than this. If it's relating to marketing, I would say in 2023, visibility is credibility. If you're not known, you're not seen. Okay. If you're not seen, you're not going to get deals. You could be the best kept secret in the world, but if no one knows who you are and what you do, you're not going to make the big money. It's as simple as that. Beautiful.
Love it. Last question. In our community, we have a saying. And the saying goes that you got to do the right thing for the right reason. Now, why is that, in your opinion?
Why is that? What was that, sorry?
In your opinion, why is that?
because I feel like if you do it for the wrong reason, you're easily going to get found out. Okay, so you need to be authentic. You need to be enjoying what you do. I genuinely love what I do. It's a passion for me. I'm lucky to do it for a living. Now, if you're just in it for the money or for the wrong reasons, long term, you're not going to succeed, in my opinion. So there needs to be a real why as to why you're doing things. And as you say, keeping it real is super important.
Beautiful. Love it. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming on. Been an absolute pleasure. We're going to spend the next hour or so together anyway. So as you heard, the message, what is it? The market,
message,
media. You got to get that baby right. So until next time, you got to do the right thing for the right reason, because that is the only way you're going to discover your true potential.